The wind howled across the empty plains of Texas, carrying the scent of rain and wild sage. The sun had just dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in streaks of crimson and gold. Somewhere out there, a lone rider was making his way home, a man named Caleb Monroe, a cowboy who had seen more sunsets than smiles. Caleb wasn't born into loneliness, but it had found him all the same. Years of tending cattle, fixing fences, and burying dreams had hardened him. Folks in town said he talked more to his horse than he did to people. Maybe they were right. Ever since the fever took his wife 2 winters ago, he'd been a shadow of himself, alive, but not living. That changed the day a letter arrived. It was simple, cream-colored paper, folded neatly, sealed with wax. The handwriting was delicate, elegant. It wasn't the sort of thing a cowboy expected to see, especially addressed to him. He opened it with rough hands and read words that made his heart thud in a way it hadn't for years. Dear Mr. Monroe. My name is Clara Dawson, and I saw your notice through the matrimony agency in St. Louis. I am a woman of modest means but an honest heart. I seek a husband not for wealth or comfort, but for companionship and purpose. If you are still seeking the same, I would be honored to correspond. Her words were simple, but there was something in them, something pure. Caleb read that letter a dozen times that night. By morning, he'd written her back. Weeks passed, letters traded back and forth across miles of dust and hope. Clara's handwriting became the most beautiful thing Caleb knew. She told him about the small bookstore she worked at, how she loved the smell of rain and ink, how she dreamed of open skies. Caleb, in turn, told her about his ranch, the sound of the creek at dawn, the old oak where his late wife used to sit, and the ache that had lived inside him for too long. In her words, he found warmth. In his, she found home. So when she wrote to say she'd agreed to come west, to be his wife, Caleb felt something he hadn't in years, anticipation. He cleaned the house, painted the porch, even bought a new shirt from the general store. The townsfolk teased him, but he didn't care. For the first time, hope had a name. Clara Dawson. The train was due to arrive on a Wednesday. Caleb rode into town early, his heart drumming with nervous energy. The platform bustled with people, travelers, peddlers, soldiers returning home. When the whistle screamed and the train rolled in, he stood tall, scanning faces for the one he'd only seen in his dreams. But she wasn't there. He waited as passengers stepped off, as luggage was unloaded, as the conductor called, "All clear." Still, no sign of her. His stomach tightened. He checked again. No Clara. A telegram arrived later that day. Storm delay. Will arrive tomorrow. My apologies. Clara. Caleb exhaled in relief. Just one more day. But life out here had a cruel sense of timing. That night, a storm hit harder than anyone expected. Lightning split the sky, rain flooded the creeks, and by morning, the bridge leading into town was gone. One of Caleb's cattle herds broke through the fence, and he had to ride out to save what he could. By the time he got back, covered in mud and exhaustion, he found a note nailed to his porch. She came. You weren't there. Caleb's heart sank. He saddled up immediately and rode into town, the world spinning with regret and disbelief. When he reached the station, the platform was nearly empty, except for one woman sitting alone on a bench, holding a single small suitcase. Her dress was travel-worn, her bonnet soaked from the rain, and yet, she looked up at him with eyes that could quiet any storm. "Miss Dawson?" he asked, breathless. She stood, brushing a strand of damp hair from her face. "Mr. Monroe, I came yesterday, but they said you didn't." "I'm sorry," he said, voice low and full of guilt. "The storm, I couldn't." Her expression softened. "I thought maybe you changed your mind." Caleb shook his head slowly. "Miss Dawson, I've been waiting my whole life for you. Maybe you came a day late." He stepped closer, his voice barely a whisper, "but you're right on time for me." The thunder rolled again in the distance, but neither of them moved. The storm might have delayed her, but fate, stubborn and kind, had its own schedule. For the first time in years, Caleb smiled. And Clara, still clutching her little suitcase, smiled back. The cowboy and the mail-order bride, two hearts weathered by time and distance, stood beneath a gray sky, unaware that the hardest, most beautiful part of their story was just beginning.